Hey, what's up? It's Kit. Time for another video, and today we're going to talk about something that happened yesterday on my trip. And hopefully, you know what? Hopefully, this would be able to help you guys catch more fish. Okay? Um, Before anything else, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. I talk about the hows and whys of fishing. We cover everything from big game, ultralight, everything in the middle, including fly fishing. And today we're talking about light jigging and why I was so successful yesterday compared to the other guys on the boat. So it had nothing to do with the jigs we were using because all three of us were actually using pretty much the same jigs. Our tackle system were not that far off from each other. But I did use something different from them, which I believe actually made so much of a difference that made me caught majority of the fish. Before that, these are the three reels that I used. So for my slow jigging, I was using this Abu Garcia reel. For my spinning, I was using this. This is the Revo MGX. This is the Salty Stage VV8. Quite a fast reel, and I believe it's not sold anymore, but it's really good. It has the clicking sound when the fish takes. Quite a very good JDM reel, and it's used for light jigging, so quite a good reel. And of course, for my fast jigging, I was using the Shimano Oshia Conquest PG, which I showed you guys a bit earlier. I did bring a rod paired with the HG version, but I didn't get to use it because I was just too busy with these three. So I was testing out rods that I designed with these two, and you'll learn more about them sooner than later, but we'll cover them in this channel. But yeah, so the main difference yesterday was actually leader size. Okay, so I was very successful with all three of them because I dropped down to a thinner leader size. So we all started with 20. Okay, so this is I literally just picked these up from my from inside my tackle box. So I had 20 at first, and then switched over to 15, and after that, when the fishing got tough, I actually switched over to a 10-pound leader. Okay, and that made a difference, especially later on in the day when the fishing was so difficult that, even when the fishing went difficult, I was still catching some fish here and there. But when the fishing switched on again, in this one particular drift, actually it was kind of like the last drift of the trip. And this is where I put it. It's in my fast jig. So when I switched my leader, I put on the thinner one because the fishing was difficult. And when we were drifting this last drift, I didn't even bother picking these two up. Okay, it was all from this one, and I was catching one after another. And mind you, these were grouper. Okay, these were grouper on small fast jigs, and I pretty much outfished everyone on the boat with a fast jigging setup in shallow water, catching grouper after grouper, and the captain was honestly just beside himself, taking the hooks off of the fish, and before he could even put it in the ice box if we kept it. Okay, otherwise we would just release it if it's too small. But the bigger ones that we actually put in the ice chest, before he could put them inside or put one inside, I'd be hooked up again. So right after we took off the hooks off of the fish, I dropped my line and immediately I would get hit again. And it was like that. Now, again, I'd like to mention that honestly, we were pretty much using the exact same jigs almost. Okay, except probably for the color because when I picked it was just pretty much kind of random. And I was getting the strikes. Roughly about 5-1. 5-1. Okay, when the fishing was really difficult, I caught on this. And the leader on this is really, really thin. It's not going to show up on camera, I'm pretty sure. But this is really thin. Okay? That's really thin right there. This is about 4 pounds. Probably, yeah, this is 4 pounds, I'm sure. This is fluorocarbon 4, yeah. So, 4-pound test leader. I was catching a lot on this when the fishing wasn't too switched on. And basically, that made me the decision that when I make the decision that after the fishing kind of slowed down, it was for me to tie a thinner leader on my fast jigging setup. And I wanted to catch on my fast jigging setup. It wasn't that I was tired of slow jigging. It's just that I missed catching on fast jigs. So I tied up a thinner leader on this, and that was that. Okay, so basically I started off with 20, put 15 on my slow jigging setup. I was catching with it. I was happy. I was catching a lot. And mind you, if you're in Dubai, you would know how hot it is right now. Okay. So especially when you're fishing in places that are hot, you'll know that towards the middle of the day, the bite just shuts off. And it was like that for about an hour and a half, where we were just drifting around looking for fish. And I wasn't really producing much, even if I had one of the best jigs on the combo. And it is one of my confidence lures. Okay, one of my confidence jigs. If there's nothing else, I drop that down and then, no secret there. Everybody knows the jig para. So a 20 gram or a 15 gram jig para, drop down when the fishing is slow, will produce. But even with that, I was getting bites just occasionally. It was just occasional bites, and they weren't the fish that I really wanted. There were some quains, there were some barracuda, so I had to switch my my strategy there. And I found that as soon as you actually get off a few feet off the bottom, the barracuda would hit. And in this whole session with the groupers, because at that particular long drift just before going home, we were catching mostly groupers. And I found that if I used a slow jig and it would go up to a certain level, let's say probably about 3 meters off the ground, the barracuda would bite. So I switched to my fast jigging setup and worked my jig just a few feet or a few meters, literally a couple of meters off the bottom, and then drop it down. And that's when I get the strikes. Okay, again, it is very simple. It's not rocket science. There's a lot of people out there that would tell you like this is the most ideal leader, this is your favorite leader, but it's not that. Okay, what it is you adapting to the conditions that are presented in front of you. Okay, and you being able to react to that. It's a difference between catching just 2 and catching 40, and that's the reality of it. Okay, you go out there, you bring a few leader materials in a few sizes, okay? And sometimes, just like yesterday, that one change, the 10-pound test, made the trip for me. What I would do was drop down, okay? And then I would just jig it up about 2 meters, 3 meters max, drop it down again, and I was catching a lot of grouper, okay? Now, my cousin who was with us on the trip, he was using, I think, 15. And then a friend of mine, he was using 25 or something like that. They had occasional fish, but not as much as I did. And again, I'd like to repeat that we were pretty much using the same jigs. And the only difference was the leader size. Okay? Now, of course, it's not always a happy story. I did lose 3 big fish. One close to the net. My fault right there. I was too excited. Or I got too excited and actually, I think I thumbed the spool and the hook popped from the fish's mouth. Okay? Especially fighting on light line, it's a no-no. And my leader was quite thin, so yeah, I lost that fish. Okay. There was a grouper also that when I set my hooks on that thing, it rocked me. Okay, it fought for about 2-3 minutes, and then ultimately it just reefed me. And then the third one was actually another grouper, which was a good size, and I lost him midway because my knot popped. Okay, that was really a very bad miscalculation on my side. So what I did was to tie a loop knot on the eye. Normally, if your jig is new, there are no nicks there. And when there are no nicks there, your knot pretty much won't be damaged. But what happened is that the ridges here actually had a bit of damage after a few times of it was an old jig. Basically, from the split ring going in and out of the eye right here, the knot or the loop of the knot actually rubbed on it, and then it popped. So I was being careless. I admit to that. Okay, we're all human. We make mistakes. I was just too much in a hurry to actually drop a jig down. So that was really a bad thing on my part. But other than that, those 3 lost fish, I caught pretty much everything that I hooked. Now again, just dropping from your usual leader size could make the trip as it did for me yesterday. I'm not saying that I'm with bad fishermen. They're actually quite competent. Only that I dropped leader size, and that was it. It was for the win for that trip. All right, so I know that quite a few people actually know this. It's not a trick, actually. It really isn't. But there are some people out there that might not be aware of this. But if you are using a thinner leader, your jig moves better. It's less visible to the fish, and of course, especially on tough days, every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. And yesterday, that's basically what made my trip. All right, so guys, if you have similar experiences with dropping down leader size, post your comments of your experience below. Okay, if this is something that has helped you make a trip better, please comment below, and it'll be a very good discussion just to see how many people actually do this All right, now that's it for now. I hope you learned something. If you already don't know about the whole leader thing, and like if you found the video useful, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next one.